Collagen is the most abundant protein in the body. It plays important structural roles. Enzymes are protein molecules that speed up reactions in the body. Without enzymes, metabolic reactions would occur too slowly to support life. Proteins help transport materials throughout the body and into and out of cells. The protein hemoglobin, which gives these red blood cells their color, shuttles oxygen to body cells and carries away carbon dioxide. Lipoproteins transport lipids and other fat-soluble nutrients. Proteins help protect us from disease by producing antibodies, which specifically attack specific antigens in the body. Hormones are chemical messengers secreted by the endocrine glands, which regulate biological processes. The hormones insulin, growth hormone, and glucagon are made from the amino acids. Insulin is a protein. Why do diabetics need to inject insulin rather than take it orally? Fluids also help regulate fluid balance and prevent the level of acidity in body fluids from deviating from the normal range. Acids have a low pH. Proteins can act as a buffer by taking up or giving up a hydrogen. Protein energy malnutrition is a great concern in the developing world, but generally not a problem in economically developed societies where plant and animal sources of protein are abundant. Usually, protein deficiency occurs along with a general lack of food and other nutrients. Kwashiorkor, a protein deficiency, is typically a disease found in children. It is characterized by a swollen belly. Growth is impaired, but because energy intake is not necessarily low, the child may not appear extremely thin. The lack of protein also causes poor immune function and an increase in infections, changes in hair color, and impaired nutrient absorption. On the other hand, marasmus is caused by an overall energy deficiency or starvation. The diet doesn't supply enough calories or nutrients to meet the body's needs. It is characterized by depletion of fat stores and wasting of muscle. Individuals appear emaciated because their stores of body fat have been depleted to provide energy. Protein energy malnutrition is the most widespread form of malnutrition in the world today, affecting over 500 million children. Protein energy malnutrition is most prevalent in Africa, Central America, South America, the Middle East, and East and Southeast Asia. Children who are thin for their height may be suffering from acute protein energy malnutrition, whereas children who are short for their age may be suffering from chronic protein energy malnutrition. Children suffering from protein energy malnutrition are likely to develop infections, nutrient deficiencies, and diarrhea. Infectious diseases are due to depressed immune systems. Malnutrition increases the likelihood for infections to develop due to decreased appetite and increased energy requirements and nutrient losses. Undernourished children may die from diseases that would not be life-threatening in well-nourished children. The recent popularity of high-protein, low-carbohydrate diets has raised questions about whether consuming too much protein can be harmful. There is little evidence that a high-protein diet will precipitate kidney disease in a healthy person. However, it may be detrimental for people with kidney disease. The increased wastes produced with a high-protein diet may speed the progression of a renal failure. A high-protein diet may increase the amount of calcium lost in the urine. Recent findings have contributed to a widely held belief that high-protein diets result in bone loss. However, if calcium intake is adequate, high-protein diets are associated with greater bone mass and fewer fractures. So the important thing here is for individuals to consume adequate amounts of calcium. Finally, the best documented concern with a high-protein diet is related more to the rest of the diet than to the amount of protein consumed. Typically, high-protein diets are also high in animal products. This dietary pattern is high in saturated fat and cholesterol, and low in fiber, and it therefore increases the risk of heart disease. These diets also typically low in grains, vegetables, and fruits, a pattern associated with an increased risk of cancer. What element is found in amino acids but not in glucose and triglycerides? Carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, or phosphorus? The correct answer is nitrogen. Have you ever read this warning on Diet Cola bottles or cans? Why do you think it's here? Current protein intake recommendations are based on nitrogen balance studies. These studies compare the amount of nitrogen consumed with the amount excreted. Studying nitrogen balance allows researchers to evaluate protein balance because protein is the only macronutrient that contains nitrogen. The first picture is an example of when your body is in nitrogen balance. This means that nitrogen intake equals nitrogen output. This indicates that the amount of protein being synthesized is equal to the amount being broken down. The second picture is an example of negative nitrogen balance, or when nitrogen intake is less than nitrogen output. This indicates that more protein is being broken down than is being synthesized, so body protein is decreasing. Negative nitrogen balance occurs due to injury or illness, as well as when the diet is too low in protein or calories. The last picture is an example of positive nitrogen balance, or when nitrogen intake is greater than nitrogen output. This indicates that there is more protein synthesis than degradation, so the body is gaining protein. This occurs when the body is growing, during pregnancy, and in individuals who are increasing their muscle mass by lifting weights. Most of us eat more protein than we need. The typical young adult in the United States consumes about 90 grams of protein per day. The RDA for protein for adults is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. You can find your kilograms of body weight by dividing your pounds by 2.2. For example, a person weighing 154 pounds, or 70 kilograms, the RDA is 56 grams of protein per day. Why do children need more protein per kilogram of body weight than do adults? As growth rate slows, requirements per unit of body weight decrease but continue to be greater than adult requirements until age 19. What is the RDA for a 2-year-old child who weighs 14 kilograms? What is your RDA for protein? A lesser quality protein is lacking in one or more essential amino acid. This is known as a limiting amino acid, as it limits protein synthesis. The four most common limiting amino acids are lysine, methionine, threonine, and tryptophan. Animal protein also has a higher protein digestibility, between 90 to 99%, whereas plant proteins are less digestible, between 70 to 90%. Soy protein mimics animal protein in terms of digestibility. Protein quality is measured and given a PDCAAS, or a Protein Digestibility Corrected Amino Acid Score. The PDCAAS compares the amino acid composition of a protein with human amino acid requirements and corrects for digestibility. The meat and beans group and the milk group provide the most concentrated sources of protein. Dry beans and peas are the most concentrated sources of plant protein. These may be included in the vegetables group or the meat and beans group. There is very little protein in fruits. There is little emphasis on protein in the nutrition facts panel, as we tend to get enough. If you had an allergy to soy, would this soup be a safe choice? Children with kwashiorkor are more susceptible to infections than healthy children. True or false? The answer is true. Vegetarian diets are diets that include plant-based foods and eliminate some or all foods of animal origin. There are several types of vegetarian diets. Why do you think someone would choose to follow a vegetarian diet? Well, for one, vegetarian diets can be a healthy, low-cost alternative to the traditional American meat and potatoes diet. In addition, vegetarians have a lower body weight and a reduced incidence of obesity and of other chronic diseases overall. Finally, vegetarian diets can be more economical. What might be some limitations of following a vegetarian diet? Well, a poorly planned vegetarian diet can cause nutrient deficiencies, such as protein and vitamin and mineral deficiencies. A vegan diet is the most strict of all the vegetarian diets. Again, vegans do not eat any foods that are of animal origin. This means no milk, no eggs, no meat, no fish, etc. This table provides suggestions for how to meet the needs for the nutrients that tend to be lacking in vegan diets. If you get your protein from a single source and that source is an incomplete protein, it will be difficult to meet your body's protein needs. Combine proteins to make a complete protein. Lysine, methionine, and cysteine tend to be the limiting amino acids. Remember, in order to make complementary proteins, you need to combine a grain, nut, or seed with a legume. What are some possibilities?